Gawain settled into his chair and pulled a file from the stack on his desk. He handed it across to Harry. The tab read, Statute Breach, Keswick. With a wave of his wand, a Muggle television and VCR on a rolling stand appeared in the corner of his office. He pointed his wand at the screen, and it hummed to life, illuminating from a single bright point before flickering a few times and settling into a picture. A news anchorman was speaking cheerfully into a microphone about a local man who had entered a national Doctor Who trivia contest. There was one more round of questions remaining for a chance to win £10,000. It was thoroughly ordinary Friday evening television. Then, without any warning, a woman stepped into the camera's view about 20 feet behind the anchorman. She was wearing a long dark cloak and a tall pointed hat, and she was carrying a wand. She raised it and pointed it directly at the anchorman, who immediately stopped mid-sentence and began speaking complete nonsense, his face stricken with confusion and fear as his hands flew to his mouth. The cameraman swung the lens toward the woman. The anchorman turned. The woman gave a small swirl of her wand and vanished in a cloud of dust, leaving the anchorman staring at the space where she had been. What the hell was that? He said to nobody in particular. Gawain flicked his wand, and the television disappeared with a pop. What is she thinking? Harry said. It went out at 6 o'clock on Friday evening, Gawain said, leaning back in his chair. Thousands of people saw it. All the ministry could manage was charming the local newspaper to run the headline. Live news video of so-called witch revealed as hoax. It bought us some time, but not much. We need to find this woman before she does it again and find out what exactly she is trying to accomplish. Harry stared at the space where the television had been. Maybe it's not as simple as a prank, he said. That's a serious risk she took. Prison time if we find her. Maybe it's a call for help. Maybe she's in some kind of trouble. Merrin gave a small chuckle. Not unkind, but definite. This was calculated, she said. Look at the positioning, the timing, the way she waited for the camera to be on him before she stepped into frame. Nothing about her demeanor suggests distress. She planned this carefully. She paused. The question isn't why a witch would risk prison. The question is what she gains from being seen. Harry looked at her. She wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong either. Neither of them said so. Gawain looked between them with the expression of a man who had just got exactly what he wanted. I've arranged train tickets to the lakes, he said. A ministry official will meet you both at Keswick Station. Harry blinked. Train? You can't get to know each other on brooms, Gawain said simply, and opened the next file on his desk. Scene 4. The train out of King's Cross was quiet for Thursday morning. Harry and Merrin had a compartment to themselves. The outskirts of London gave way gradually to open countryside, and Merrin watched it go by for a moment before opening the Keswick file across the empty seat next to her. The anchorman, she said. Did you notice she chose someone who was broadcasting live? He was mid-broadcast. She picked the most visible possible target at the most visible possible moment. She tapped the file. She did this deliberately. Or she was trying to signal someone, Harry said. Merrin looked up. Signal? Maybe she is desperate. Merrin considered this without conceding it. She looked back out the window. You think in terms of people, she said. It wasn't a criticism. You think in terms of patterns, Harry said. Between the two of us, we might actually figure this out. She smiled at that, just slightly. 9 years and I've never had a partner who led with empathy as an investigative strategy. Has it worked for you? The other way? Mostly, she said. You? Mostly, he said. They sat with that for a moment. Merrin closed the file. She had the look of someone deciding whether to say something. Can I ask you something that has nothing to do with the case? You want to ask about Voldemort, Harry said. She looked faintly caught off guard. And Dumbledore? Yes. I don't mean to pry. You may as well tell me to mind my own business now. Harry looked out the window. Green hills were appearing in the distance. Voldemort was afraid of death, he said after a moment. Everything he did came from that. All of it. He paused. Dumbledore knew that the only thing that could stop him was something he didn't understand and couldn't use. Love, Merrin said quietly. He always called it that. I used to think it sounded like something you'd put on a greeting card. Harry watched the hills. Now I think he just meant the things you'd die for. The people. That's what he couldn't see. Merrin was quiet for a long moment. He sounds like someone I would have found very frightening, she said. Which one? She thought about it. Both, she said. The train began to slow as the first glimpse of the Lake District appeared through the window. Gray skies, wooded shores, mountains rising behind the town. Merrin leaned slightly forward to see it better. Beautiful, she said. Wait until you see it up close, Harry said. Scene 4. The ministry official who met them at Keswick Station was a small, nervous man named Briggs who shook Harry's hand for slightly too long and didn't quite know what to do with Merrin. He pointed them toward the town square and disappeared before they could ask him anything useful. The square was everything the photographs hadn't prepared Harry for. Keswick in October was gray and cold and beautiful in equal measure, the kind of place that looked like it had been here forever and intended to stay. The Moot Hall stood at one end, its old clock tower rising above the market stalls and shop fronts. They found the spot easily enough, the sightline to the place the anchorman had been positioned. Marin oriented herself quietly, turning to face the same direction the cameraman would have faced. Muffliato, she said, her wand making a small, precise arc. Salvio Hexia, Harry followed. The ambient noise of the square softened around them. A couple of tourists walked past without glancing their way. Marin raised her wand again. Apparesium Vestigium. A ghostly image materialized in the middle of the square. The sequence played in reverse. The woman in the dark cloak and pointed hat appeared in a small spinning dust cloud. She then walked backward away from the anchorman's position, her wand lowering rather than rising. Then the witch disappeared, but Harry noticed out of the corner of his eye. There she was, 50 feet away, around a corner near a coffee shop, half hidden behind the wall, standing completely still, watching the square, waiting for the broadcast to begin. She was here before it started, Harry said. Marin looked at him. She scouted the location. Marin looked at the corner where the image had been. Revenge on the anchorman? Or a test run, Harry said. Neither of them liked that thought particularly. They stood with it for a moment, then went to find the news station. The anchorman, Clive Hutchinson, was a compact-ass cheerful man in his 40s who clearly considered himself something of a local celebrity and had not totally recovered from the embarrassment of speaking gibberish on live television. You two are from what department exactly? He said, eyeing them both. Department of Unidentified Anomalies, Harry said. Clive considered this. That sounds made up. Everything is made up, Marin said pleasantly, in a tone that closed the subject entirely. Harry leaned forward. We were wondering whether you recognized the woman. Had you ever seen her before the incident? Any chance you knew her? Clive spread his hands. I don't really know too many people who dress like the Wicked Witch of the West. He waited for a laugh. Neither Auror provided one. He deflated slightly. No, never seen her before in my life. Harry thanked him and stood. They were nearly at the door when Clive said, Wait. They turned. How did she do it? He said. He leaned forward in his chair, elbows on the desk, the celebrity persona entirely gone. Just a man who had seen something he couldn't explain and hadn't slept properly since. Disappear like that. How did she actually do it? Harry looked at him for a moment. Then he smiled. Magic, he said, and they left.